Hi, I'm DanCan. Welcome to the Invested Life podcast. Hey, are you not getting the results that you want in life, in your business? Maybe even, let's say, your weight or your fitness? Well, we're going to jump back into how to get clear, defined goals to get clear, defined results. You got to have a process. I'm going to talk to you about the process of success after this.
Most people chase success. Few build it on a foundation that lasts. On the Invested Life with DanCan, we explore the intersection of faith, business, and personal growth, helping you invest in what matters most. This is your space to protect, provide, and promote with purpose. Join us now and start building a life you truly love.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Dan Can, and this is the Invested Life. This is where we believe in investing in ourselves, others, and what we're called to do. Yes, I want to say that again. We invest in ourselves, others, and what we're called to do. I believe that every man, every leader is called to provide, protect, and promote. And this is the show where we dive into that. Like I said, I'm Dan Can, but my full name is Dan Cantillana. Dan Can is just a whole lot easier for people to remember. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. We've been rolling now for a couple months, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback from listeners, and I just really, really appreciate your time. Today is about, hey, how can we get so focused that we can't fail? And if you have a journal or if you got your phone, write that down. How can you be so focused that you can't fail? I talk to a lot of young men that want to be business owners. I talk to a lot of business owners that may not be young. And I could tell you that typically when they ask for my advice, there is a lot of ambiguity what they're actually asking for. I know for me personally, I struggle with this. And so I want to walk you through the process in which I go through with myself in regards to getting clear, defined goals. First and foremost, I'm kind of old school. And so I use a journal. I know it's 2025, but there's just something with me when I have my journal out and I have my pen, and when I physically write out the pros and cons, or I physically write out my schedule. And maybe you don't need that, but for me personally, I do. And so, what we're going to talk about first is this: clarity creates confidence. Clarity creates confidence. And so when you know what you're trying to accomplish, typically you're going to start writing down or activating the steps that need to happen in order for your goal to be achieved. When I mentor and I coach young businessmen, they don't have a whole lot of clarity. They know that they don't like where they're currently at in life. They know that they don't currently like their job. They know that they don't know exactly the season that they're in. Now, I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that he speaks. I believe through the power of prayer, we can get focused and we can get our steps. Oftentimes I'll ask them, hey, what does the Lord ask you to do? And they'll look at me like, well, what does that mean? And I'll say, hey, I believe that he wants to share his life and destiny with you. So why not ask him? So that we oftentimes start there, which I think is a lot of fun. I oftentimes see a look of bewilderment and confusion. And I was once there, so I get that. But when you have the opportunity to, I believe, tap into unbelievable wisdom in the Bible and unbelievable wisdom of the voice of the Lord, you definitely can get some fantastic perspective, and it can also show you some unbelievable potholes that might be on the journey. Now, the other thing that I want to know for you to know is you got to know your mission. I know for me, my mission is to lead and to equip. That is something that I was actually prayed over me a long, long time ago, is to lead and equip the Army. Now, that word Army can mean a lot of things. I've never been in the service, and I'm very thankful for the men and women that serve our great nation. But what I believe that meant was that what I'm in charge of. And so that's my family, that's my businesses. I oftentimes in our church, I'm in charge of different things. And I take that seriously. And that's part of being successful, is you have to be serious about what you're doing. Does that mean that you're a Debbie Downer? No. Does that mean that you're a pessimistic person? No. It just means that you take it seriously. And the best leaders, my mentors, I can tell you that they take things seriously. And that clear, defined focus will help you get your goals. If you want to lose 5 to 10 pounds, we've covered that before in other shows. Hey, how are you going to do that? For me in my weight journey, I've lost 34 pounds in the last 2.5 years. And I did that because I said, you know what? I am going to lose 2 pounds a month. That was a clear, defined goal. I'm going to lose 2 pounds a month. Most people would scoff at that. And, up until me being 48 years old, but I just said, well, losing 5 to 10 pounds a month hasn't really worked out for me. So let's try another route, which was losing 2 pounds. You may right now need to be in your career where you're like, I need to try a new route. Or you might be in relationships where, hey, I need to try a new route. And you want to clearly define what those are. Secondly, you got to have clarity. And typically in the marketplace, when you can speak with clarity, your defined goals and the processes on which you're going to do that, it attracts the right kind of customer and it attracts the right kind of investors. And so clarity will bring success. It will bring the right kind of people in your life when you can communicate what it is that you offer to the marketplace or what it is that you offer to a relationship. Last week, we had the amazing privilege of having Bob Bodine, the best-selling author of The Power of Who, the book that changed my life. And he does a wonderful job in his book. And if you don't have it, please order it right now. Pause this and order that book. It changed my life and it can change yours. Because what the book explains is, hey, people don't know how to help you because you haven't communicated to them what kind of help you need. And that just blew my mind. And when I took that to heart and I moved on it, my life radically changed. Okay, the second thing is this. You have to have discipline over distraction. You have to have discipline over distraction. Every night, I lay out my journal and I write out all the steps of the things that I'm going to do the next day. Now, the first thing I write is now, this is me like lifting the hood on how I operate. But I open up my journal, I put the date, and then I write 1, and I put love. I write the word love, and I write 24/7. I want to love God and God's people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want to love God and his people 24 hours, 7 days a week. I don't care about anything else that I have going on. My first goal is to love and to love well, because the word says that God is love. Secondly, I write hope 24/7 because I want to be a man of hope. I want to be a man of perseverance. I want to be a man that people turn to in a time of need. This is my heart. This is my calling. This is what I'm about. And so I want to remind myself each and every day to love and to hope. The third thing I write is this, and don't laugh at me, but I will write the word relaxed. I can get a little intense. And so I write the word relaxed because I believe that when Jesus walked this earth, that he was in full control and he was relaxed. Not that he was passive, not that he was lazy, but he was relaxed because he had full confidence that he was doing the will of the Father. And I want to have that same spirit. The next thing I write is number 4, and I write do it now. And then I write 1, 2, 3. And I tell myself, do it now 3 times throughout the day. I say it 10 times. I hate passivity. I think passivity is probably one of the worst things about this planet, amongst other things. But passivity just steals. It robs, it kills, it destroys. And so I don't want to be a passive man. And so as a leader, I think passivity is very bad. So in the morning, I'll say, do it now, do it now, do it now. These are positive words or actions to encourage my spirit to move. The word says in Proverbs 18:21 that the tongue has the power of life and death. And so I try to speak these words of life. It's not positive thinking. It's not self-help. It's me declaring the truth over me and the responsibilities in which I have for others. Remember, one of my life goals is to create opportunities for other people. If I'm passive, that's not going to happen. And so in the morning, I'll say, do it now 10 times. Usually at lunch, I'll say, do it now 10 times. And then usually in the evening, which I need it most, I'll say it, do it now. The next thing I do is I write the letter B. Well, I do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I write the letter B with a dash, and I write that 5 times. I write down 5 blessings. So I think about the prior day, and I write down 5 blessings where I saw in my life good. Now, this has helped me tremendously. I've been doing this for about 2 months. It's just been wonderful to reflect about God and his goodness, about all the ways that I've been blessed. And it's as simple as wonderful as going on a walk with my wife, having a great conversation with one of my sons, something that I found encouraging, or a business opportunity that arose. I write those things down. Or if I had tremendous success with my health or my diet, I'll write those things down. And then after that, I will start writing down the different tasks of what I want to do, which looks like working out, reading, serving, maybe bills I have to pay, things like that. So when you're distracted, you can't be focused and you're not going to be successful. When you're distracted, you can't serve God and his people. So do not be distracted. Be focused, be disciplined. This daily discipline has radically changed my productivity, but fundamentally, it's also changed the way I help serve people. And that has brought me the greatest joy. The third thing is this: results through repetition. I have mentioned many times that I am a routine guy, and I am. I do very well with routine. You can ask my family. I go to bed at the same time every night. It doesn't matter if it's Friday, Sunday, or Wednesday. I'm out at 10 o'clock. You can kiss Dan goodbye. I'm gone because I get up at 4:30. And so I need to get up at 4:30 or 5 every day. And the reason why I need to do that is because I need to get up and I go for a 3 to 5 mile run, or I go on a 3 to 4 mile walk. I learned about 4 years ago that it's imperative that I get outside each and every day. I am not a camper. I'm not a woodsman. I don't go hunting or any of that stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I need to be outside. And something about the weather, whether it's sunny or it's raining or snowing here in beautiful Spokane, but I need to be outside. And that sets the tone for me to be able to serve God and his people. That sets the tone for me to be able to move in the marketplace, to create opportunities for others, to serve my clients and my customers. And so you got to find what I'm going to say your groove. What is your repetition, that you need to get into to be successful? You want to get dialed with clarity and focus. You want to really lock in on what is yours to do. I started this podcast with what did I say, right? We invest in ourselves, others, and what we're called to do. You may be called to be a teacher, a coach, a president of association, a business owner, an entrepreneur. You may be called to your education right now. Well, you want to clearly define what that is, and more importantly, why you're doing it. I really fundamentally believe that a lot of people are hopeless because they don't know their why, which is so sad to me. And so please, if you don't know that, write that down. What is my why? Pray, talk to a spouse, talk to your friend, talk to your parents, talk to people that know, and talk to people that you know, love, and trust. What do you believe is my why? Or where have you seen me succeed the most? Or where have you seen me help other people the most? And that will start you down that road. Once you have focused repetition in your life, you will start seeing the fruits of success, and that will drive you to continue to drill that down. I believe that you are called to be successful. What I mean by success is this: fulfilling your God-given purpose on this planet to help God and his people, to help mankind. That's what I define success as. Thank you so much for listening to this. What we're going to do now is take a break, and I'm going to share with you a DanCan musings that is about listening and being in the right place at the right time and being at the right place at the wrong time after this.
Tired of missing real estate deals because you were waiting for the bank to approve your funding? At Wave Capital Investing, we get you funded fast with flexible terms and a streamlined process. No red tape, no stress. Apply today at wavecapitallending.com and ride the wave to your next successful real estate investment.
Welcome back. Okay. Many of you may not know this, but I played rugby in college. I went to a small state school called Central Washington University, which is located in Ellensburg, Washington. And I loved playing rugby. And how I got into it was the wrong people came into my house to play cards one day. And the next thing you knew, I was on a rugby pitch. I ran track in high school. In junior high, I played football, basketball, I wrestled, played baseball. And so it was a little different playing rugby because obviously I'd never played before, but I fell in love with the sport the first time that the ball was passed to me. And I realized that I had an opportunity to score what's called a try, which in American football is called a touchdown. We call it a try in rugby. And man, I fell in love with the sport at that moment. I love scoring tries. It was amazing. Well, the great thing about rugby is there's just a lot of fellowship, we'll say, with your teammates in the opposing team. And one year, we were going to go to a rugby tournament in Missoula, Montana called Maggot Fest. Yes, that's the name, Maggot Fest. And yes, it holds up to its name. Most rugby players have heard of it. And our rugby coach, who was a mountain of a man, was taking me and some of my rugby mates to the tournament, but he had graciously planned on taking us a whitewater river rafting. And I had never done that before. I was really excited on going. And so I'm in the back of his car with a colleague of mine, a friend of mine. And this gentleman, who was usually pretty calm, pretty laid back, I would say a little too laid back, but he was really fidgeting. And after a while, we're in the middle of Montana, which was like in the middle of nowhere. We're going up this road, a ravine. There's the river, and it was a class 4 or 5 river. And I'm looking over at my friend, and I could tell he's nervous about something. And so finally I said, "Hey, man, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And he kind of looked at me and brushed me off. And I could tell it was getting worse as we got closer to the destination. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he said, "Dan, I don't know how to swim." And I looked at him and I said, "What?" He goes, I don't know how to swim." And I wish I could tell you I said something positive, but I said this, like, "You grew up in Washington State surrounded by water and you don't know how to swim?" And so anyway, I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, you can't go down this river. You can't whitewater raft. Like, you got to tell coach." And he's like, "I know, but I'm afraid of coach." I said, "Well, I'm afraid of coach too, but you can't, you're going to die, man." And so he thankfully listened to me. And so the DanCan Musing is about listening. And so he listened to me. He talked to coach. He didn't go white river rafting, which was a smart move on his part. Well, we then go down in the river. Montana is beautiful. If you ever get the chance to go there, go. It's a beautiful state. So we're getting instructions on, hey, here's your helmet, here's your vest, blah, blah, blah. Some are going to sit in the front, be in the middle, and the back. And so I'm in college. I'm kind of listening, kind of not listening. And the instructor, who is a great person, he was like, "Hey, if you haven't heard anything I've said, you have to listen to this. And this DanCan Musing is about listening." I said, "Oh, I better listen." So I'm listening. He said, "So chances of the raft tipping over and spilling everybody out, pretty high. So when you fall into the water, what should you do?" Well, I just had this conversation with my rugby friend, and I said, "Well, I'm very smart." So I raised my hand and I said, "Swim." And the instructor laughed. He said, "Well, how should you swim?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You swim?" He goes, "Well, listen, what a lot of people do is when they're in the water, they start swimming, but they swim like they're in a pool. The problem with that is that there's big rocks all over. And if you swim like you do in a pool, the chances of your head hitting one of those rocks is really high. At this point, I'm really paying attention. And he says, listen, when you fall in the water, you don't want to swim. What you actually want to do is you want to lean back. And you want to put your feet out in front of you. You want to hold your arms like this. If you're listening to a podcast, I'm basically hugging myself. And you just want to protect your head and your limbs from rocks. Let your feet absorb the blow instead of your head. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So we start going down the river, and I can tell you it was a blast. I'm up front in the right. My rugby captain, who is a great guy, he's to the left, and we're going down and we're hooting and hollering and we're having a blast. Well, there's these things called sinkholes or potholes. Well, anyway, we go down this big old rock. We sink down to the left, and the front part of the raft gets consumed by the water. And so my rugby captain, he starts falling over into the river. And I had not thought about this until that moment, but I was like, well, I have this oar. I'll make a lever. So I put my oar deep into the water. It was like a movie, I'm telling you. It was like I put my oar deep into the water. I reach over to the left. I grab him by his vest as he's half into the water, and I pull him out. We pop up out of the sinkhole, pothole, whatever it's called, and we're yelling, screaming, high-fiving, and he's like, thanks, Dan. It was amazing, right? So we go another about 15, 20 minutes. Well, this time it's reversed. The right side of the raft, it goes into a sinkhole. Well, my rugby captain, instead of doing what I did, which was create a lever and grab me, well, he falls down and pushes me into the river. So next thing you know, I'm in the river, and I remembered verbatim what that instructor said. I like my noggin. And so I leaned back, I put my feet out, and I hit the rocks with my feet, came through. It was glassy water after that. They came and picked me up. And of course, my rugby captain was apologizing, and we were laughing. They pulled me in. The DanCan musing is this. If you want to be a leader, you have to pay attention to those around you. And there's people hurting all around you. You want to be able to listen. You want to be able to watch what's going on. You want to be able to help them. You want to be able to give them sound, good advice. And that's what this podcast is about. It is about me giving good, sound advice. I believe in principles. I believe in profitable wisdom and principles. That story was basically talking about, hey, there's going to be dangers. There's going to be rapids. You want to be able to help people like I helped my captain. And then sometimes people will push you. They'll push you in. And you want to listen to wisdom on how to get out of those jams. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to bring it all together.
One accident can change everything. Are you covered? At DanCan Insurance Agency in Spokane, we protect what matters most: your family, your car, your peace of mind. Get a free quote in a timely fashion. DanCan, because you can count on us. DanCan Insurance Agency specializes in auto, home, motorcycles, and life insurance. Call us today at 509-328-1422.
This episode is about having focus in your life, focus in the marketplace. I truly believe that when you have the opportunity to sit down and write down your daily goals, that would be the first step in regards to how you can garner or bring in focus. The DanCan musing was about how to listen to others and watch how you can help others. But really, I believe you have to help yourself first, and you have to get a good foundation of wisdom in your life. And I believe you can get that through mentorship, through books, through sermons, leaders in your life. When you have the opportunity to bring clarity to your life, I believe your joy will increase tremendously. I believe the satisfaction in which you live your life will increase tremendously. Daily routines are paramount to seeing successful results in your life. I shared in great detail how I go about that. If you found any value in this podcast, if you could do me a huge favor, if you could forward this podcast to 3 of your friends, family members, or colleagues, I would really appreciate it. I have a desire to get this word out of hope in the marketplace, hope in your personal life. I am so thankful that you volunteered your time to listen to the Invested Life podcast. Thank you so much. I believe that readers lead and leaders read. I have 5 books that I call the 5 books of impact that I believe every person should read. If you want that list, please email me at dancan@Wave Capital Lending. And once again, that's dancan@Wave Capital Lending. And I will send you those 5 books of impact. If you did not have an opportunity to listen to the podcast with Bob Bodine and his book, The Power of Who, I'd really encourage you to do that. It's a fantastic book. It's a book that can help you and help others. And remember, Dan Can listeners, love well and do good.